Pistol Pete Maravich is one of the most intriguing players in NBA history. He would famously hit long perimeter shots in an era where the three-point line wasn't even implemented yet. As a rookie for the Atlanta Hawks, Pete was already one of the most exciting players in the NBA, with his incredible speed, court vision, fancy passes, and smooth handles. In 1974, he was traded to the New Orleans Jazz, an expansion team that needed a star to lure in fans. Pete definitely attracted big crowds and played like a superstar, but he also attracted a fair share of criticism because he never led the Jazz to a playoff appearance during his tenure. This brings us to February 25th, 1977, when the Jazz were playing the New York Knicks at home. Maravich was having his career season, averaging 29.8 points going into the game, but the Jazz were sitting at just a 25-33 record. In fairness, he didn't have a great supporting cast. The player who would have been his co-star, Gail Goodrich, was currently out due to surgery on his Achilles. After losing star players like Willis Reed, Dave DeBusschere, Jerry Lucas, and Dick Barnett, the New York Knicks were struggling to find their footing in the mid-70s. They still had a few players from their championship runs: Walt Frazier, Earl Monroe, Bill Bradley, Dean Meminger, and Phil Jackson. They had even acquired MVP center Bob McAdoo, but the team was sitting at just a 27-32 record. That night against the Jazz, the Knicks assigned Walt Frazier as the primary defender for Pistol Pete. Frazier had made first-team All-Defense 7 straight times in his career, but there was nothing he could do to stop Maravich this night. Pete's first points came from a backlane cut and free throw, and a few plays later, he hit a contested shot in the face of Frazier. After driving down the lane, he hit a contested fadeaway in front of Frazier again. You'll see how this was a trend for the rest of the game. Coach Red Holtzman replaced Frazier with Butch Beard, but Maravich responded by hitting a jumper with 2 defenders on him. After another jumper and a foul by Butch Beard, Maravich had 17 points in the first quarter. He got off to a slow start in the second quarter, missing his first 4 shots, but he decided to focus a little more on distributing, which led to him racking up all 6 of his assists in the second quarter. He did eventually find his shot though, and he went on a streak of hitting stepbacks, deep shots, contested jumpers, and hook shots. Now, the Knicks sent in backup guard Dean Meminger to contain Maravich, but he couldn't do much to stop Pete either. He finished the first half with 31 points, as the Jazz led the Knicks 65-43. Pete's career high in the NBA was 51 points, which he had achieved this very same season against the Kansas City Kings. Many believed that he could reach and surpass that goal, so the Jazz's game plan was basically get the ball to Maravich. The Knicks came out ready to play though, outscoring the Jazz 34-31 in the third quarter. They began playing tighter defense on Maravich, double-teaming him and picking him up at half court, but Pistol Pete responded with make after make. He ended the third quarter with 17 points, bringing his total to 48. He was only 3 points away from breaking his personal high in the NBA, and everyone knew he was going to do it. What people were more excited about was that Pete had a chance at breaking the record for most points scored by a guard, which was held by Jerry West when he scored 63 in 1962. He racked up 10 more points by hitting contested shot after contested shot and driving to the lane to draw free throws. After making a backlane cut, Pete got an open layup. Now he was at 60 points. After New York missed a shot, New Orleans got the rebound and handed the ball to Maravich. He began to sprint down the court when New York's Ricky Burden reached in and tripped Maravich. He fell down hard. He had twisted his ankle. Trainer Don Sparks checked his foot, and after a few minutes, Maravich stood up. He was staying in the game. The crowd erupted with cheer. For the trip, Pete was awarded 2 free throws. He made the first, but missed the second. Now he was at 61. Next possession, he came down the court but missed a jumper. He then dribbled through 2 defenders to get a layup, but was called for a questionable charging foul. This was bad because that was his 5th personal, and if he was called for 1 more foul, he'd be ejected before he could break the record. But the Jazz were determined to help him. After he inbounded the ball, the team moved the ball around the perimeter before dumping it into Pete. Then he pulled off this.
Dean's hands they call. They're looking for him.
Aaron James inside. Maravich backed into Meminger. What a basket. He's got 63. He put the right spin on that ball.
I still can't believe he made that. Look at it. He's got a defender on his back. His body is facing the scorer's table. He's looking at the basket from an awkward angle, and he's still playing on a twisted ankle. He had tied the record with 63 points, and now he had to top it. The very next Jazz possession, Pete got a pick from his teammate E.C. Coleman, and he hit another contested shot to get 65. A foul by Dean Meminger led to Maravich scoring his 66th point, with just a little over 2 minutes left in the game. After getting a steal, Maravich sprinted down the court, pump-faked, and scored his 68th point.
68 for Maravich, and a steal. Look at him fight for this ball. The Pistols doing it all. A great ball game.
The highest he had ever scored in a game was 69 back at LSU, but with 1:18 left on the clock, Pete drove through the paint when he was called for his 6th and final foul, which threw him out of the game.
Pistol Pete getting a tremendous round of applause for a tremendous performance by Pistol Pete Maravich, 68 points.
The Jazz beat the Knicks 124-107, and Maravich put up a stat line of 68 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks, while shooting 60.5% from the field. The second highest scoring player on the Jazz was Mo Howard, with 12 points. What's crazy to think about is that if he had a 3-point line and he wasn't called for some questionable fouls, he definitely would have scored in the 70s, and possibly he could have scored in the 80s.